It's a sin to be a failure. I'm telling you, it's a sin to live an ordinary life. It's wrong. If you're living an ordinary, broke life, take it that is because you didn't hear the word. But when you hear the word, you got to stand up. You got to say, no, I can accept this. Listen, don't make trouble with human beings. You say, so-and-so is owing me. That's why I'm like this. If they just pay me my money. You see, what you've done is to relegate your life to that amount of money that so-and-so is owing you. That shouldn't keep you. That shouldn't stop you. He's got much more than that. Practice what I'm telling you. You're a child of God. God's not expecting that you're going to live your life according to the salaries they're paying you in your company or in your wherever you work. He's not expecting that. Hey, it's as much as expecting that I'm going to be as healthy as the hospitals and doctors decide I could be. If anything happens to me that they cannot deal with, then I'm a goner.
Is that all man of God, all pastors, all reverend fathers minus none is a criminal. Even if you, young Baba, become a pastor today, you are a criminal. Christianity creates immunity for evildoers. When Jesus Christ came and says, I came to provide salvation for sinners, what he does not come is not to stop sin. He came to provide an umbrella that shields sinners from judgment. There is nothing like God in the form of a personality. Christianity destroys the unity of a people and creates division among them. So Bible is an improper packaged lie, sustained with fear. I told you, when you hear God, God means government of the day. When you hear heaven, heaven simply means all Western countries, Europe, America, England, Belgium. When you hear earth, earth simply means Africa. When you hear men, men simply means men of Africa. Bible is a true colonialist book. Everything written in Bible is a true word of the predator to the prey. A man can by faith believe that acid is now water, and he will now carry the acid and begin to spray on people. So faith is a potent weapon of terror. I'm going to give you maybe just 16 important points why I left Christianity. If you pick Bible from the beginning to end, you discover this is the culture of the West, which live on exploiting other human beings. Bible is just a manual of colonization, a book a man wrote and believed that this is how I'm going to oppress my colonizers, and then making the colonizers, giving the colonizers consolation to accept death. To live is Christ and to die is gain. This culture makes the people to accept death as a benefit of serving Christ. You can see him talking in Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5. He says, if your enemy is hungry, give him food. He was just creating a pathway by which you will love your own enemy. But the man went back to his land and built a bomb. You think he built the bomb to play? You are joking. The day he will touch any of his own people, he'll come back and he will demolish everybody in your village. So God don't give husband. Men saturate and make themselves available for it. Somebody is now testifying in the church that I have a husband and others don't have a husband. Somebody came to testify in the church that I entered the car. He says accidents happen. 5 died. Only 1 survived. He said, this is the grace of God. People in the church shout, power. Somebody come and testify. He says, I buy a car. I came from a family where everybody doesn't even have a car at all. But the goodness of the Lord has been faithful to me. Somebody says power. The question becomes, when you have a car and your brothers don't have a car, your brothers is going to poison you. When the people is denied food, the people cannot know morality. Survival will always override morality. Like I told you, there are things that are not option. There are things that are the basic need of life. And so the basic need of life need requisite, urgent, meticulous attention to fix it. So when you come in Enugu, you see a massive number of youths who doesn't have a job. And then when people don't have a job, you cannot actually come and teach them morality. When the Westerners live their normal life, automatically their fight for survival is a direct extermination of life to people in black. And when the black race take their normal culture is direct attack and direct threat of life to the survival of the West. And nature actually designed this way because life and death is intertwined. And what every species fights to is to preserve their culture, because their culture is the only thing that will sustain.
You know, this is a thing I have never understood with some men of God, right? They come on air and they tell everyone that the reason they are not successful It's because they don't know God enough. It's because they don't believe in God enough. Or maybe it's because they are not following the principles of God from A to Z. That's what they say, right? But if you look deeply into how they made their own money, you will see that God did not put money in their pocket, right? They deceived their members. They preached prosperity gospel, and their members were convinced into giving them so much money. That's how they made their own money in the first place. It's not like because they prayed enough, they fasted enough, and they sowed it enough, so all of a sudden God favored them by putting money in their account. That's not it. That's not just it. It was because they told their members that you guys have to sow seed in the house of the Lord. You guys have to do donations. You guys have to do this or do that. In other words, they deceived their members. They lied to them because after all the seed sowing, after all the fasting, after all the praying, just for prosperity alone, most of the members in the church are not prosperous. They did not prosper. Isn't that a flawed doctrine? Isn't that a scam? All of us, we have to understand this. You see a man of a so-called preacher like Pastor Chris public shaming people, saying that if you are poor, it's a sin, or poverty is a sin, being broke is a sin, without putting in place the economic factors, without putting in place that some people are not exposed to certain things, and if they're not exposed to certain things on how to build word, they will not build word. Some people just come to church and they do not know how to create word for themselves. Some people are strong believers who believe that by sowing seed, God would put money in their pocket, and that doesn't work. Pastor Chris himself is not telling the whole story. He's not telling them that the reason he is as successful as he is not because he fasted and prayed. It's because he has a lot of investment here and there. He is not telling the entire story on how he was able to build wealth for himself. He wrote a lot of books which his members bought. And by so doing, he created a lot of wealth for himself. He is not saying that. He's not saying that. But rather, he's saying that being broke is a sin. Is that what it is? So-called men of God are now becoming so condescending. They are just some of them I cannot even put myself in the same environment with them. I cannot, because of the toxicity of their doctrine. Some of their teachings are so dangerous. Really dangerous. You come on the pulpit, rather than teach people about salvation, rather than telling them to be peace within themselves, and to love God, and to work hard, and to acquire skills, you tell them that if they are broke, it's a sin. Or if they are poor, it's because they don't trust God enough. That's what you say. Now listen, if trusting God were to be a solution to our problem, don't you honestly think that we would have had that solution by now? I mean, if just praying and fasting and sowing seed was that metazan or that paracetamol that would cure the headache, which is our problems in Africa, don't you think that a country like Nigeria would have achieved that by now? Don't you honestly think so? All the top men of God in Africa, which country are they from? You just name it. The biggest churches in Africa, where are they located? Nigeria. But yet still, Nigeria cannot feed its population, cannot provide light for people, cannot build road for its citizens. Why the preachers come on the pulpit and insult us and rub their worth on our faces. We are just supposed to sit there and swallow it and clap for them and celebrate them. Sometimes I have to say this. Okay? Sometimes I feel like, or I think, we would have been a lot more better had we not had this whole core Christianity in Africa. I just think so. We would have been a lot more better. Because the thing Christianity has done in Africa, you guys will not believe it. You guys will not believe it. If from a child you are being told to respect leaders because they are God's representation on earth, and the reason why they are your leaders is because God wants them to be there, how can you fight for your own future? If from the beginning you are being told, from a child, you are being told that if you question God's decisions, you are committing a sin, and sinners will go to hell and they will burn for eternity. Just imagine living on earth for 80 years is as long as it is. Then imagine burning in hell for all eternity. What will you think? Wouldn't you become a mumu? Wouldn't you? You see what Christianity has done, right? It has made us not fight for ourselves. It has made us become this humble and empty people. We have no self-determination. We have relegated all our responsibilities to God. And according to men of God, we should leave judgment for the Lord and let the Lord fight for us. How can the Lord fight for us? We have to fight for ourselves. How can the Lord fight for us? Politicians are doing their own thing. Preachers are doing their own thing. The people are in the middle. We have nothing to live for. And we cannot even fight, because fighting is a sin. And God will punish us severely if we said that we've suffered enough and that the men of God and the politicians have used us enough, and that has to stop. Just saying that alone will rain God's wrath on us, isn't it? This is exactly what some preachers want us to think. And they have preached this day in, day out. And you know why they keep on preaching it? Because it elevates them above all of us. If the preachers are anointed by God, and God is the most highest authority, so first we respect God, and then we revere men of God. What about us? Is anyone giving any thought about that? What about us? We have nothing. We have nothing to live for. We are nobody. We are hungry. We are starving. And no one is giving any attention to our plight. We are being abandoned. We are being disenfranchised.